The fatal funnel. This is probably the most important aspect of home defense, which is why I want to take a couple of minutes to just break it down for you as simply as I possibly can, so that in the worst case scenario, it doesn't matter if you're getting attacked by one criminal or 20 criminals are trying to break into your home. If you can master the fatal funnel, then you will be capable of taking down a limitless number of attackers on your home. So, what is the fatal funnel? The fatal funnel is an isolated choke point or a narrow channelized area in which a criminal must pass through, or anybody really, but in this case, a criminal must pass through in order to gain access to you and your loved ones. Why this is so important is because if we look at this hallway here in this example, no matter what, if somebody has to come down this hallway and you're just shooting bullets down there to neutralize that threat, they have nowhere to go. They can't disperse, they can't take cover, they can't take concealment. They're in this, what we call kill zone, otherwise known as the fatal funnel, which is why it's a fatal funnel, is because we go in there and then you end up dying because it's fatal. So let's talk about how you could apply this within your home when somebody's trying to break in. So here we have a really basic house setup. This is pretty common in like the Chicago multi-flat area. You have a door coming in here. That's what all these big black swinging things are, not what you think it is. Here's the door. Here's the living room. Here we have a bedroom, master bedroom, bathroom, this hallway, and then back here we have a kitchen with a rear exiting door that usually goes down to like the cars and stuff like that. So how can we use this in home defense? Well, let's first talk about what to do the moment you realize somebody's breaking into your house. Remember, there's 4 Ds. There's deterrence, detection, delaying, and ultimately defense. We're talking about defense here today. But if you don't have the other 3 Ds in place, then you're really screwing yourself over by not giving yourself enough time, as much time as possible, in order to defend against these dirtbags. So, somebody's breaking into your home. Let's say that they're kicking in the front door here, okay? And they make entry into your living room. Well, you residing here in the master bedroom need to do a couple of things. One, the first thing we always want to do anytime we realize we're being broken into is grab our weapon. You need to grab the weapon. Most important thing, getting the phone and calling 911 isn't going to save your life when they come in your room and have a gun to your head. Grab your gun. 2 is to then call 911. Now, these next several steps, this is called the Family Emergency Response Plan. And this is all going to happen pretty simultaneously. You don't have to do one after the other. In fact, you don't even need to do any of these in this particular order. This is just what I do and what I would recommend you do as well. However, calling 911, going to grab your kids if you have any kids in the house, sounding the audible alarm if you have an audible alarm system in the house, and then ultimately retreating back to that family safety zone. All that's going to be done simultaneously, or at least in conjunction with one another very quickly. So don't think of these as like, oh, I have to stop, call 911. Then I go get my kids. Then I go here, or activate the alarm. That's not how it works. It's all pretty fluid in terms of when it gets activated. But after you do these things, then you're going to set and secure that fatal funnel. So in this example, we're just going to say you live alone, master bedroom, somebody kicks in your door. Well, all you need to do is poke yourself out of this doorway here and cover down on what we call this field of fire. Now, if you'll notice, what does that color represent right there? It represents a funnel. And so that's where the fatal funnel concept comes from. So now you're 1 room deep from the initial entry point. This would be right on top of it in the living room. We don't ever want to be right on top of that entry point. We're sitting here within our door frame, and now we're capable of what? Covering down on all this area simply just from sitting in our doorway. And this is called the fatal funnel, and this is why it's such an important concept to understand. Because whether you have one guy, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. So let's say that you neutralize these threats and one guy gets all the way over here before you're actually able to engage them. Well, you just sit tight and you hold down that fatal funnel while waiting for 911 to now come. Because if he makes any sort of attempt to come over here, well, he's in your fatal funnel and you can engage him. What else is really great about this concept is something called a shoot-through wall. Now, a shoot-through wall is a wall that is specifically designed within your home for you to shoot through. It's made of lightly resistant material, something like drywall, and you know that on the opposite end, there isn't going to be any sort of threat to any sort of innocence. So what I mean by this is, let's say this wall right here is all drywall, and you heard this guy, he made it over here and he's up against the wall right here, and you can basically hear him rubbing against the wall or breathing heavy or yelling, whatever it is. And then here you have the front of the house, and in Chicago usually you're going to get like a street over here, and then this will usually be like a window of some kind. So the question is, could we shoot through the wall and engage this person even though there's a window here that leads out into the public? It's not the greatest situation, but depending upon the type of weapon system you have, absolutely you could. This is why I recommend shotguns for home defense. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but that's just what I recommend. If you're going to use another type of weapon, I recommend a shoulder-fired light caliber weapon system, so like a shoulder-fired 9mm with hollow point 9mm rounds is, I think, the other greatest home defense, home safety tool that you could have. But if you're using a shotgun with hollow point slugs, once it hits this drywall, it's going to begin to disperse immediately, which is going to limit that penetration on the back end of this criminal or through that window. So the more things that we could have deflecting the potential round, the potential bullet, then the less likely that bullet is going to be to continue to travel due to its loss of velocity and loss of energy. And so therefore, the safer it is going to become ultimately to engage somebody. So in this instance right here, if you hear this guy on the other end of your wall, I would recommend, in fact, shooting this guy through the wall. This could be utilized as a shoot-through wall. Now, let's say that you have kids in the house and you're not able to get to them fast enough, and their bedroom resides over here. This wall is what we would call, or these walls I should say, are what we would call no-shoot walls. Why are they no-shoot walls? Well, they are no-shoot walls because if a criminal gets here and you try to engage and shoot him through this wall, well, there's a great likely chance that you're going to get an overpenetration on that bullet due to its energy, due to that velocity at such a close distance, and it could potentially harm somebody that you love or care about. However, again, digressing back to this over here, I wouldn't really call this a shoot-through wall, but you could definitely utilize it in some form or capacity of. Now, if you didn't have a window up here, if this was all brick, that absolutely is 100% good to go. Just keep in mind, know your target, consider the foreground and background. That's the fourth weapon safety rule. We must always abide by those 4 weapon safety rules. So again, just to recap, a fatal funnel is any channelized area or an area of limited ingress and egress that a criminal in this case must pass through in order to reach you, your family, or your loved ones. By locking down and securing that channelized area with a home defense tool like a gun, like a firearm, you can therefore then create for yourself extended fields of fire, which is the totality of this funnel, so that anybody who passes within there will be subject to being neutralized, being wounded fatally or mortally. Now, you have the advantage when it comes to your house. Like, the criminals don't know your house setup, your house layout. You could do this in the dark. And that's the most beautiful thing about it, is they're not going to know when they come through this door where these shots are even coming from. So you're confusing them, you're inflicting casualties on the enemy, and ultimately you're keeping yourself and your loved ones as safe as possibly can be. So this is the fatal funnel concept. If you have questions, let me know. If you like that, like it and share it and all that shit. Because this year I think is going to be pretty gnarly when it comes to home invasions, especially with 12 to 17 million illegal migrants that are here in this nation. And yes, you could be here illegally. That makes you illegal, like all this woke bullshit. So Keep your loved ones safe, keep your family safe, and if you really want to have this broken down for you in your home, then join the Lethality University. That's my online masterclass coaching group where we all come together, we talk about survival, we talk about home defense, we talk about personal safety, and I give you everything that I possibly can from my perspective as a former Special Operations Marine who's operated at some pretty high levels overseas. I give it all to you guys. I break it down and I just pass the information along to you. What I do for my family, what I do for myself, and what I recommend that you always do for yourselves as well. I love this country. I love people for the most part, and I just want to help you all stay safe. So take care, like, subscribe it, share it, join Lethality University. My name is Joe Malone. I'm a former Special Operations Marine, and I want to teach people how to be safe against violence. Thanks.